Next up this morning here on the College Lacrosse Preview Show, he's getting ready for his second season as the head coach of the Mountaineers. Out at Mount St. Mary's, he is Coach Chris Ryan, and he's with us now here on the College Lacrosse Preview Show. Coach, it's Glenn and Patrick. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, guys, it's great to be on. Thanks for inviting me up here to talk some cold early season lacrosse as we get going here.
Getting ready for a game on Saturday at Queens. Coach, look, obviously there's no way to sugarcoat it, right? We know it was a tough season a year ago. You have done an awful lot of winning during your time at Mercyhurst. Was there a humility that had to come with going through it? Like, I'm sure you knew that it wasn't just going to be, hey, we'll go win the league in year one. But I guess what did you learn most from going through a season like that about the transition to being a head coach at the D1 level?
Yeah, you know what? To tell you the truth, I think myself and the coaching staff arrived with a good bit of humility, knowing the process that we were beginning here at the Mount. So I think as the season went on, yeah, there was one time I think after a game where maybe frustrations on my part started to bubble up a little bit. I turned to the assistant coaches and just said, geez, like it used to take a decade to lose, 14 games. But again, when I came to the Mount and I recognized the potential that was here, I also knew that there was a process that was going to accompany my tenure here. So we sort of arrived last year feeling the landscape out and getting to know things. Sure, we would have all loved to have won 14 games last year. It just wasn't going to be the case. So yeah, there was a good bit of learning to do. There was a good bit of adjustment to do. But I like where this year's team is, and I like the adjustments we've made, and we're looking forward to getting down to Charlotte on Saturday.
Chris, just out of some curiosity, like what have been kind of the transformations that you feel like have occurred? What sorts of adjustments have been made, and what areas do you feel like this team is more different than it was a year ago?
Well, I think first and foremost, when the kids arrived back to school this year, someone would walk in, I'd be like, "Hey, Kevin, how was the summer?" Last year it was, "Hi, I'm Coach Ryan."
Nice to meet you.
So there was a familiarity. I think there was a greater understanding by the kids of what the expectations are, and what the standard is. We spent a good amount of time last year just implementing the beginnings of the culture that we wanna have at the Mount. Whereas this year the kids came back, they did a great amount. We readjusted what we were doing over the summer with strength and conditioning. The kids came back in great shape. And with just a greater knowledge of what to expect and what we needed to do. And I think that understanding culturally of who we are, what we want to become, and how we're going to get there has been just a great help. I think there's been also, along those lines, I think there's been a real progress in the leadership on the team as far as guys understanding how to lead and what the expectation is there. We've seen a lot of personal growth. Senior Makai Nelson for us. Last year, Makai at this time was struggling with some things. This year after our scrimmages over the weekend, he says, "Hey, coach, can I keep the guys in the locker room and speak to them after you're done?" So again, there's just been a lot of growth. And obviously now we're interested to see in year two, what steps forward we take. And there is a plan in place that's a deliberate steps are being taken, and we're interested to see how far we come along.
Chris, one of the standouts in what was a tough season was a freshman, Brody Atkinson, a local kid out of St. Paul's, who scored a ton of goals. And I imagine what that means moving forward. Like, if that's what he was as a freshman, and I know that there'll probably be a little bit more attention that comes his way, but what is that young man capable of now moving forward in this program?
Yo, Brody, the first going off of our last year, going off of our scrimmage in like three out of our first games, he basically got baptism by fire, running for his life from All Americans. So he has a pretty quick learning curve, but he's mature beyond his years. He's a perfect kid for the Mount and what we're trying to do here. But one of the things as a sophomore that you have to be aware of, I always tell the sophomores, especially those who have had successful freshman year, like the scout is out on you now. So you have to continually evolve your game. You have to be willing to change. One of the big things that we've been stressing with the guys is the ability to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And a lot of times that means you're going to have to look at things differently. You're going to have to do things differently. You're going to have to maybe, maybe your pregame prep has to be at a higher level. Your work in the weight room has to be more intense. So I'll be interested with Brody to see again that evolution on the field. But he's a kid that 100% possesses the attributes to be successful in all those things I just said.
Just a quick look at the roster, and maybe my numbers are off a little bit, but I count 2 grad students, 8 seniors, 9 juniors, 6 sophomores, and 21 freshmen.
Yeah, and a partridge in a pear tree.
A partridge in a pear tree, which might actually enhance the age of the team at this point. But I gotta wonder. I'm sure some of this is by design and some of it's by necessity. Having
That's a
that
good way to put it.
Having that large a freshman class, what's it like kind of dealing with that kind of group? And I would also think that in terms of, as you try to build a culture, that having all these guys coming in, since you arrived, probably is a good step towards getting that fast tracked a little bit.
Yeah, we had to make some changes at the end of the year. I don't think any coach is comfortable, making those changes, but it was for us to do the things for us to sort of step in and start to push that potential that's here at the Mount. We had to do it. And we tried to get those guys assimilated as quickly as possible. Over the summer, we get them involved with a Big Brother program here where they're matched up with an upperclassman, and those relationships become really strong. But we tried to get them going culturally with the team as soon as possible, because when you do have 19 freshmen on the team and then a host of transfers, I mean, I believe, guys, you don't want me doing math, but I believe you're looking at close to 60% of the roster is new.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have 19 freshmen on the team, I sat down with them when they got here and I said, listen, we've got to start to grow up. We've got to start to mature, because you guys are going to have, just by sheer number, you're going to have a great effect on how practices go. You're going to have an effect on how, what we can implement. We're going to put a lot of energy into you guys, because let's face it, some of you are going to, some of you are going to be on the field pretty early. So it can be challenging as a coach. I mean, just imagine if you're in a house with 19, 18-year-olds running all over the place. It can be like herding cats at times. But again, when I think we really lean on their buy-in into the culture that we're building and them understanding it. And, at that point, sometimes you just say, guys, just listen to what we're saying. Just do as we're doing. You feel like that parent, like, guys, I always tell them, if all the adults in your life are telling you something and it's all the same things, it's because we know things. So just do what we say. And I'm always fond of saying we allow free thinking second semester senior year. Till then, just do what we tell you to do.
Yeah, that's when you're eligible to think on
Yes,
your own.
that's yeah.
Chris Ryan, Mount St. Mary's lacrosse coach, is with us. Coach, I know that not a ton of experience, but you did turn late in the season last year to Bennett Wright between the pipes. Does he inherit the role coming into this year?
He didn't inherit the role. We also brought in a transfer from Albany, Jack Van Volkenberg. And those two have been duking it out. Bennett over the weekend, Jack's been a little dinged up. So Bennett got a lot of playing time this past weekend against Lafayette and St. Joe's, and actually had a terrific day inside the pipes, developing a lot of confidence. So, he's a competitor. And then we had a freshman, Trevor Sutton, out of Baldwinsville, New York, get some playing time this weekend. And Trevor did well when we got in there. So we're feeling pretty good about the goalie play right now. And yeah, we got an inkling of that last year when we put Bennett into, the middle of games. I think there were 2 games where we pulled our goalie and put Bennett in, and he had really good games. It really solidified things. And that's when I first got the inkling to how much of a competitor he is. So we've been pretty happy with Bennett at this point, and we'll see how the weekend goes.
Kind of curious as to how you went about sort of tweaking the schedule a little bit. I'm intrigued that you guys open up with a further away road game than Mount St. Mary's typically has. If it is on the road, it's typically been teams like Navy or Delaware or what have you. And this is down to Charlotte to take on Queens. Is that kind of a bonding opportunity as much as anything else with this particular team? And what kind of informed just the way you went about constructing the non-conference schedule?
Well, guys, it's supposed to be 63 degrees in Charlotte this weekend.
You need anybody to go on the road with you? You need
Come on, jump on the bus. So when I was at Mercyhurst, we opened up every year at Wingate, and that was me explicitly looking for weather with it. No, you know what? Like when you have such a young team, I had an alumnus ask me a couple weeks ago. He said, "Coach, what are you trying to what's the goal of this year?" And I said, "Confidence." You have young guys on the team. We need to get them into environments where they can build confidence, build experience, and we can again take deliberate steps to bring this program along to get it to the point where we know it can go. But I just, last year I felt like, the guys, we went down, we opened up at Navy, 2 weeks, Towson, 2 weeks later at UMBC. And we went into the Monmouth game, which we lost in double overtime, but we went into the Monmouth game with 5 healthy offensive midfielders. And I just said, where's the sense in this right now?
Yeah.
So it's very much, again, taking sensible, deliberate steps to build the program, and first and foremost this year, build confidence with the kids.
Makes sense. It makes sense. It was something that I was noticing and just looking back that the first head coach at Mount St. Mary's, Randy Kilgore, passed away in the fall. I just wonder if, obviously you don't have that connection, and I'm not suggesting that you knew Coach, but I would imagine that's something that you want to do this season to try to honor him.
Yeah, we're going to be honoring Randy on April 5th. There's a doubleheader here. We have Canisius, and the women's team, I believe, has Fairfield. I've been hearing a lot of stories about Coach Kilgore, and I've been hearing about this white flagpole that the alums still have nightmares about. I did not know Coach Kilgore, but I think as a coach, you can appreciate his dedication. I mean, he literally volunteered years and years of his time and effort and energy to building the Mount program. And there is a strong affinity by many of the alums still to this day towards Coach. So you can absolutely recognize the impact that he had on his players. I mean, one on Mount St. Mary's University and the lacrosse program, obviously, but individually, those guys still identify with Coach, and they still take his teachings into their jobs and their family life. And there's no greater compliment that a coach can receive than players taking what they learned during their time as a student athlete and being successful with, maybe a lesson, a piece of what, of what you taught them while they were here. And it's obvious that Coach Kilgore had that effect on his players.
That's awesome. Coach, we will look forward to seeing you this season, of course, as we mentioned, at Queens on Saturday, then the first home game the following Saturday against LIU out in Emmitsburg. Appreciate you taking the time for us this morning. Thanks so much for doing this, Chris.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. It's been wonderful.
That's Chris Ryan, Mount St. Mary's lacrosse coach here on the preview show. Your thumbnail on the Mountaineers.
Realistic, I think, might be the word to throw there. Chris Ryan sounds like a man that knows exactly what's coming. I think last year there was certainly some bullishness. You've got that that new coach vibe and all that, and
The new coach smell.
new coach smell, whatever you want to call it there. And so you don't want to sit there and go, gosh, we're going to go 1-14. I think when you look at the roster composition, another young team. That's 3 young teams that we've been talking about so far. That you look at that and you go, well, there could be some lumps in there. It's a team like UMBC that you're probably looking at being better at the end of the season than you are at the beginning of the season, and better equipped to deal with your conference opponents than you are your non-conference opponents. I do think that their non-conference schedule is relatively manageable, all things considered. That's not to say that they're going to go win a bunch of those games, but I think that they could be competitive in a lot of those games. There's a game against Wagner in there. I think there's a game against LIU, who's pretty decent. St. Bonaventure, an A-10 team. They go to UMBC. They play Monmouth. And Queens is a second or third year Division I team. So, I think for the Mount, it's a matter of growing up, and growing up at a lot of different places. They do have, I think 3 of their top 4 scorers back from last season. So there's at least a little bit of a foundation at that end of the field. Again, you look at a team that has 21 freshmen and 25 of everything else. There's going to be some ups and downs to that. But I think if you're the Mount, you want to see guys get better as the year goes along. And it's a league that takes, I think, six of its teams into the conference tournament. I think that qualifies as a successful season for the Mount if they're able to
step forward.
A step forward. That's not something that you're going to sit there and judge in year 5 and year 6 as a victory in and of itself. But I think right now you would certainly argue that would qualify as progress for these guys.